My next guest is not a big social media guy, so you may not be familiar with his name, but you have certainly heard his work, whether you know it or not. Lisle Moore is a renowned film and media music composer, jazz pianist, and trumpet player with a career spanning over 3 decades. Known for his versatility and innovative approach, he has composed iconic music, including the ESPN and ABC NBA basketball themes, the official World Cup theme, as well as numerous notable others such as Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, and for TV shows like Deal or No Deal, Judge Judy, and more. In addition to his great musical talent, I also hear he is a dang good ping pong player and that he knows his way around the kitchen, specializing in the French omelet. Lisle is a husband, father, the CEO of a tech company, and my good friend. I'm so excited to hear more of his story today. Lisle, welcome, and thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I cannot wait to talk to you more. Our last couple conversations, I feel like I've had to like pull the reins in on what we're talking about because I'm like, wait, save this for the podcast. So
Right.
this will be really awesome. I was thinking back to when we first met. Do you remember how we first met?
How could I forget?
I know, Roof Restaurant. It must have been like almost 15 years ago now. Is that something you guys would do as a family a lot?
Yeah, we would go to that restaurant, and my father was notoriously known to, on the spot, challenge me to perform as a child my whole life.
Really?
He'd go, Lisle, get up here and play for, guests would come over in the evening. And then when I started having children, my daughter, very talented vocalist, he
Yes.
always wanted to get her involved in those moments. And so the fun part of the story is he heard you playing at the Roof as a pianist, and he wanted either myself or Elica to go and perform.
Elica.
Yeah. And to kick you off the piano. I'm like, Dad, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like this is a restaurant downtown Salt Lake. We don't know that girl.
I liked his confidence in it. But
Yes.
I remember him bringing Elica up around the piano to meet me, and he asked if she could sing with me. And if I remember right, she did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You performed something. I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the song, but
It was fate, though.
It was fate.
Yeah.
And I have been so grateful for you guys ever since. I remember your wife, Tammy, she contacted me like shortly after that. And I had told her, I teach piano lessons in Draper, you
Right.
guys not living far away. She contacted me, and I had the lucky privilege of teaching some of your older kids, including Elica, piano.
Yeah.
And I've always just so appreciated you guys and your support of me. So thank you so much. It's invaluable.
Well, thanks for teaching our children.
For sure. And we're so lucky to have Elica in studio with us today. We're going to be able to hear from her later. And I am really looking forward to that. She has one of my favorite voices in the whole world. So that will be great.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm really excited to get to know you and a little bit more of your background and your story. You're someone I have looked up to as a musician, a composer, and just a great person for so long. And so I'm wondering if you can I want to tell your story. I want to tell your story, where you came from, how music came to be. And so can you take us back to where it started for you, your childhood? Where are you from?
So I'm from a small town, Fulton, Missouri, in the middle of nowhere. I think we had 10,000 people in the town. My father is a music educator. He was the band director of the community.
Okay.
He was an incredibly talented trumpet player in his own right. And he was just a music leader and a community leader, and a very driven parent. And so I also, on my mother's side of the family, had the conductor of the Luxembourg Symphony. His name was Louis de Froment, and he was French. And so I was exposed as a young child to him conducting an orchestra. And to me, that was the ultimate career path for me, is to be able to do something that way. I didn't know if it was performing in it, conducting it, writing music for it. I didn't really know at a young age. I just knew that it spoke to me. So my dad was very pushy with me in learning music and got me in piano when I was 4 years old, I believe. I started in Suzuki, which is a method that concentrates more on playing by ear and being expressive and being musical more so than reading music. So I excelled at that, and which is kind of why I ended up in my career composing and making up my own stuff, because as a small child, they were really nervous at the piano recital because I would just start to play music and kind of do my own rendition of whatever I had practiced. And then I would bring it back and end.
That's amazing.
And they would go, oh, okay.
He pulled it together.
Yeah.
He pulled it off.
Yeah.
But you don't hear that from a lot of kids with that like innate ability to just improv off of something. And so that's really cool, and that's really special. I wanted to ask, like, how many siblings do you have? Were they all pushed in music? Are their siblings musical?
Yes, I have one sister. She's 6 years older. She was actually a pianist and a flautist as well. But what got me involved in piano at such an early age is one day I just started playing on the piano what my sister was playing.
Wow.
And I think my parents kind of realized, okay, he has an ability here that we didn't know, because I was only 4.
Yeah.
And that's what got me going. So yeah, one sister.
So did you take formal music lessons as a child, like all the way up through high school? And I know you played trumpet too. So is that like a lot of music lessons all the time?
So I started Suzuki from 4 to about, I would say, 8 or 9 years old. And then my parents got tired of asking me to practice piano. And
I was going to ask if that was an issue.
I revolted, and they took me out. And I excelled at trumpet, but I kept doing piano myself. Then they shipped me off to Interlochen Arts Academy and Music High School, where I started taking lessons again in jazz piano and trumpet.
How cool.
So yeah.
So aside from your music as a child, what was your childhood like? Like, what kind of child were you? And I want to also talk about, were you religious? Were you church attending as a child?
I grew up in a pretty isolated environment. We had 113 acres out in the middle of nowhere. You know, we had horses, we had 200 head of cattle for a while there. And I pretty much walked around the property and talked to myself and didn't have a whole lot of friends because we lived so far away from town. So it was a rare occasion that I would go into town and have, you know, a sleepover with buddies or whatever. So I had to invent ways to entertain myself, and that was really music. So I was Catholic growing up. My mother, I always joke, she's the Relief Society president of the Catholic Church. So she took me to church with her, and I was an altar boy in the Catholic Church for a while. And but I wasn't really very religious then, or really thought a lot about God at that point. But yeah, I mean, it was an incredible childhood, but sometimes I wish I had lived in town, and I probably would have been more social with people.
Yeah. I've met your parents at different recitals and things over the years, and they are incredible people. You can tell that just by the way they carry themselves and how they interact with your family. I didn't realize until prepping for this episode that you were a convert, and that is such a fun and a cool thing that I didn't know about you. And I'm wondering if you can kind of tell us your conversion story. Where were you first introduced to the church?
Do you want a 2-minute version or the 20-minute
I
version?
want the good detailed version.
The good detailed version.
Yeah.
Okay. My father, a little backstory on him. He is an entrepreneur and he owns multiple businesses, or he did. He is older now. I think he's 80 and he's slowing down in life. But he was a music educator. He was a bail bondsman. And he got criminals out of jail in the afternoon, and he changed kids' lives musically during the daytime.
It's quite the contrast.
Oh, crazy contrast. So one particular evening, the phone rang, and I had had a lot of experience talking to criminals who call their home that needed to get out of jail. Well, this particular young man, his name was Rocco, and he was pulled over for speeding in Missouri, and he was going roughly 102 miles an hour. And in the state of Missouri, that's a felony. So he was immediately handcuffed, taken down to jail, and he randomly picked my dad off of a list of bail bondsmen, and he called. Well, I actually answered the phone. To make a long story short, I called my father going, hey, you need to go get this guy out of jail. He sounds like he's a really nice guy. And he was from American Fork, Utah. So my dad drives down to the jail and he sees this young man who does not fit the normal bill of a criminal and realizes he's a filmmaker. And he is looking for a film composer to write the music for his score. I mean, what are the chances of that?
What are the chances?
Yeah. So immediately my dad's attention turns from, are you going to show back up for your court date, to, I want you to meet my son. Can you sleep at our home tonight? And I'll take you there. So the story progresses. It gets crazy. My father wakes me up around midnight and he turns the light on and he goes, hey, get up. I want you to meet someone. Well, this guy from Utah walks into my bedroom and we talk for 6 hours about film, about our career aspirations, what we want to do in life. And we just become best friends at that moment. So not that you would know this because you've never been arrested, but how it works is you have to come back for your court date and appear before a judge and to do all that. So he had to come back to Missouri about 3 or 4 weeks later. So he gave me a task. I want you to write music and prove to me that you can compose like a full score for a film. Well, I had never done it before, but I was up for the challenge. So I quit my construction job and all day, every day for a month, wrote music to try to impress this guy. He comes back a month later, here's what I'd done, and he hires me. And he goes, we are going to move to Boston, because I was going to go to Berklee College of Music out there.
Okay.
And we're going to get an apartment together. You're going to go to school during the daytime. I'm going to pick you up around dinner. And then we're going to write music and do all the sound effects for this film until 2 a.m. We're going to do that for 4 months in a row until we get this project done. And I was up for the challenge. I mean, where else can you get real world experience at that age into doing your craft? And so during the 4-month period, he would attend church every Sunday. And he never thought to ask me to go with him. So he knew I was Catholic. He knew I had never brought up God in front of him. And so he didn't think that I really cared. And honestly, I didn't at that point. There was 1 week left in the semester, and he invites me to church with him. And I go, and honestly, the first sacrament meeting experience, I was bored out of my mind, and I was only thinking of where we were going to go to lunch. And I was like, yeah, do my time here, and I don't want to be rude, but get me out of here.
Yeah.
Type attitude. And then I asked him, well, hey, where are we going to go to eat? And he goes, well, there's 2 more hours of church.
That was back in 3-hour church days.
Yeah, that was back in 3-hour church days. And so I went to Sunday school. I actually enjoyed that because I got to talk and I knew some of the Bible from being Catholic, and I got to interact. Then we went to priesthood. That was the 3rd hour, and I loved it. Yeah, I got to talk to, and the people there were unbelievable. They were Harvard graduates, MIT. They were rocket scientists in the room, and I was this uneducated loser musician around these people. Yet they were befriending me, and they were, interested in me. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. So Rocco, this is crazy to tell on a podcast, but he basically asked a really cute girl to come up and flirt with me after church. And so she did. She came up, she asked my name, she's talking to me, and I thought she was, really cute. And she goes, would you like to come to a family home evening with me tomorrow night? Like, okay, am I going to meet your family, your parents?
What is this? What is a family home evening? Yeah.
No clue.
And for someone that doesn't know, what is it?
Oh,
Yeah,
you want me to tell
explain-
now?
yeah.
A family home
explain.
evening is
Yeah.
something that we do in the church where the mom and the dad and the children get together and we pick a time, maybe an hour, and
Yeah.
we talk about the gospel, do an activity, and do something that bonds our family. And we do that on a weekly basis. So
Yeah, and that's pushed
family home
in
evening.
in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It like historically a little bit more than I hear about it now.
Yeah.
But family home evening, Monday nights, that was kind of a thing that was pushed,
Yep.
spending time together.
Yep. So I accepted her invitation and I went. And it was the first time I had ever been at a party. I thought it was a party where we didn't have crazy loud music going. There were there was no alcohol. And I was
Yeah.
just hanging out with all these brainiacs from MIT and Harvard.
Yeah.
And we were doing the craziest games where I would stand in the middle of the room and they had their feet on me and like I was bouncing, like just the
Just
crazy,
good wholesome fun.
good wholesome fun.
Yeah.
And I was shocked that I actually had a good time that night.
Yeah.
So that evening, I walk her home and she goes, I'd really love for you to learn more about my church. Would you want to meet with me tomorrow morning? And I was like, of course I would.
I would like to meet with you again.
Exactly.
Yes.
I was, I had no idea what they were,
They were working
what they were doing here.
Yeah.
So she picks me up, she drives me to church, and I noticed there's no cars in the parking lot. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
There were 2 bikes out front, and these 2 19-year-old kids, or maybe they were 20 or 21 at the time, come out. Elder Southwick and Elder Dan Torres, and they shake my hand, and she got me. She's like, "Well, we're going to talk to the missionaries." And the normal version of me would have been pretty reluctant at that point and a little standoffish, but
Yeah.
I was very comfortable with them. And honestly, I was interested at that point. And so we sit down, we talk about the gospel, and they give me a Book of Mormon. They asked me to pray about it, and I was infatuated with it. Like it really opened up my mind. Well, that evening, I said one of my first prayers and asked if the Book of Mormon is true. And I felt the Spirit in abundance that literally collapsed me to the ground, and I sobbed for a half an hour straight. And I'd never had that experience before. Immediately call my parents and say, I'm joining this church.
What was their reaction?
They were shocked. Yeah, they didn't know that was coming, and I didn't either, because
Yeah.
I just talked to them this
You're like,
morning.
well, Dad, Rocco, you are the one that introduced me
Yeah,
to Rocco.
exactly. So I got baptized that Saturday.
No way.
Yeah, literally 5 days later.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a crazy time in my life. I had no idea that I would ever be interested in God or religion or any aspect of that. And here we are. And so I drove home with my father. He came out and I had tons of musical equipment in my dorm room. I've always had synthesizers, computers, you name it. And we drove home, and 3 days later, the Spirit told me, you need to move to Utah.
Really?
So
Is that where your friend Rocco, is that where he was?
He was there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you
yeah.
knew someone there.
Yeah, I knew that he was out there, and I knew it was going to be very difficult to start a career in music in
Yeah.
the Midwest and Missouri. Nothing against the Midwest, but
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot happening out there as far as, being a film composer. And
Yeah.
So I drove out there 3 days later and met with Rocco, lived with him for a few months, actually met my wife at a singles ward.
Oh, this was a whole other question I had.
Oh,
Tell us the
sorry.
story of how you met Tammy. Go into that. I want to hear the details of that.
Okay, so she was just visiting randomly at this singles ward because her
Okay.
sister was there. She noticed me passing the sacrament, and I noticed her. Now, this was back in the day where there was no cell phones, and so I asked the Elders Quorum president, who is that?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Connect me to her. Yes.
She's a lot cuter than that girl that
She's
was in
way
Boston.
cute.
So he gave me her number, and I remember I drove home, and I had it in my head, and I cannot forget this. And I
You
called
memorized
her.
it?
I memorized it on
Oh
the way
my
home.
gosh.
And I called her, and I go, "Do you know who this is?" And she goes, "I think so." So we kind of fell in love in
cool.
Sunday school, staring at each other. And,
Yeah, you guys weren't listening, but
yeah.
that's okay. Still learning.
She was young. She was 18 and I was 22. So I was kind of an older
Okay.
convert. And she was not ready to be married, and I was. And she goes, why don't you go serve the Lord, serve a mission?
Wow.
And so she got me on that thing. And
Go
as
Tammy.
a convert, you don't know what a mission is. You have no
Yeah.
clue. I knew nothing of the culture of the LDS faith, but I remember sitting in the MTC, that first day going,
Yeah.
oh, I am going to learn a lot here, and this is good for me.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Where were you called?
I was called to France.
To France.
And my mother
Okay,
is French.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
your accent at the beginning of this was way too good.
Oh, when I was saying my uncle's name?
Yes, it was just so good.
Yeah.
So, okay, you serve in France. Was that hard for you as a new convert? Like, you're just probably getting familiar with the culture, the customs, the different doctrines of the church. What was that like as a missionary?
Honestly, I felt like it was a 2-year fun vacation adventure. I was older. I went away to boarding school to music high school, Interlaken. And then I had already been to college for a few years. So I hadn't lived at home since I was 16. So I saw all these brand new 18, 19-year-old missionaries that were, oh, I miss my family and I miss my girlfriend and homesickness. I had none of that. I was like, guys, we're in France.
We're adults here.
We have the best food in the world, and we don't have a job. We have money that's put in our account, every month, and this is living life here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it honestly was not hard for me. The French language was so easy for me to pick up as a missionary because it's in my blood. I'm part French.
You're French.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah.
What a cool thing. What do you think it was about the gospel that drew you in? Like, I know you said you had an experience with the Spirit.
Yeah.
But what else about the gospel was something that hooked you?
Definitely the Spirit at first, because I had never really felt it that way. So that was the icebreaker. But honestly, it was the people here in Utah when I moved out here. For one, I had never seen sheer beauty in people in that capacity. Like, everyone has a light to them out here in Utah, especially when I moved out here in '94. And I was just infatuated with it. And I recognize that when you are God-fearing, when you do keep certain commandments, when you live your life in a certain way, it reflects in your image, in your countenance. And so I definitely noticed that when I was a convert my first year out here in Utah. And I noticed that everyone was just a go-getter, hard workers, very influential in their careers. And I go, this is the place for me. I'm going to learn from these people. And my father, who was, at first he was probably against me joining the church. He came out to Utah and saw who I was rubbing shoulders with and immediately recognized it as well.
Warmed up
like,
to the idea.
You're in a good place. There's some good people out here. You're going to be fine.
Have any of your family learned any more about the gospel? Have any of them, what's their status? Are they still Catholic?
Yeah, they're all still Catholic. Yep. Yeah, no one is really converted. I do have an older aunt, my mother's sister. She converted to the LDS church years ago, but I didn't really have a lot of knowledge of what that church was. Didn't really talk to her a lot about it, so I wasn't familiar with it, and it was surprising to her that I joined the church, and because she had been a member her whole life, but I had never really talked to her about it, so.
I wanted to ask you, going back just a tiny bit, when you're in the MTC, when you're learning about the gospel, you're becoming familiar with that feeling of the Spirit. What role did music play in your conversion, sacred music?
Yeah, well, I obviously, as a missionary, got to use my talent a lot over there in France. A particular story I had, that's Europe, any mission over there is going to be tough. So I got so sick and tired of knocking doors. I went to my mission president and I go, hey, there's a university college campus here and it has pianos in the cafeteria. Would you care if I just go in there and start jamming, playing Beatles tunes or whatever, and just try to make friends that way? And he goes, by all means, go for it.
It's an awesome tool.
We actually went and bought professional looking sweaters that we pulled over to kind of make us look like a student. Instead of missionary. So we didn't stick out like a sore thumb. And one day I walk up to the piano and I just start jamming on that thing. And before I know it, there's 10 French kids all singing Beatles tunes, Let It Be and whatever with me. And then they realize we're Americans. And I think 3 weeks later, I baptized a buddy
That's
that
so
I met
cool.
there. Yeah.
It's just it's cool too, when you're in a place where you don't, I don't know. I know for me, like if I were to go to a foreign country, I just went back to Hungary, to Brady's mission. I can't speak the language, but music was one thing
Yeah.
that I could do.
Universal.
And
Yeah.
you don't have to, I feel like when you learn a new language, you're going back to like an elementary level of learning, trying to learn the grammar, the vocabulary, all these things, but you with skill and proficiency can jump in. And that's really cool. You had mentioned to me when we spoke that you had a special experience with the song Called to Serve. Did you sing that in the MTC?
Yeah. That was probably the second huge epiphanal moment of the Spirit that I felt in the MTC is when we were, I think there was 4,000 of us all singing that song together.
Yeah.
That was powerful for me when we were singing that song. And that was a pivotal moment for me to feel the Spirit in the MTC and realize serving a mission is the best thing for me.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I like to ask this question, but what does the Spirit feel like to you in those moments? We hear the Spirit described as a burning in the bosom. We hear it of like an enlightening to the mind. Like, what does the Spirit feel like in those moments when you're singing the song Called to Serve and you're surrounded in that unity? Like, what does the Spirit feel like to you?
The Spirit is very physical to me. It is that undeniable burning of the bosom. Like I feel like my chest is going to explode.
Mm-hmm.
The day I got baptized, when I came up out of the water, I went down. You're supposed to get dressed, and then you go up and you're confirmed a member. I was down there for 10 minutes because I just couldn't gather myself because it was just so strong. It's such an amazing experience. So the Spirit for me is very physical. It's right here, and I can't deny it. That one experience that I had when I first prayed about the Book of Mormon and had my, moment, I will look upon that moment for the rest of my life as it all falls in place for me because of that moment.
That's really cool. I love to hear how you and how other people describe the Spirit, because I feel like in hearing about other people's experiences, like we can recognize that, these certain times that we're feeling, and it comes to us in different ways, but we can recognize it as from God,
Yeah.
And I love that. I want to jump into your family now. Obviously, the path that you've chosen has led you, like, could you have ever imagined that you'd end up in just a close to American Fork, Utah,
No.
And could you ever imagine this path that you and your family would take? Did you always know that you wanted to have a big family?
It never crossed my mind once, actually. I was really driven to have a career path in music. But no, I never thought about that. I knew I would be married one day and maybe have a child or two like most families do. If you just showed a picture of me, we have a family photo on top of our fireplace, and we're up on I think it's called Duck Lake, or I can't remember where we took the photo. And I look at that every day and go, how did this happen? When did this happen? So no, it's a shocker to me that I live here in Utah, do what I do, have the family that I have,
5
and the
kids.
Blessings that I have. Yeah.
It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
I've always loved the names of your kids. Elica, Lisle,
Kadri, Kaysen, Avery.
They're fun and they're unique names. Are there are they family names, or how did you come up? Like, I've never heard Elica other than our Elica.
I'm going to have to give most of the credit to my wife. Elica was actually Elica in a baby book name for Hawaiian names.
Oh.
And my wife did. She changed it to Elica. Lisle, that's my name.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have been cursed. I'm actually the third. My father's the second, and my grandfather's the first, and Lyle's the fourth.
Wow, that's really cool.
So if he has a boy and he does not name Lisle, he's cut off.
Cut off.
Yep. He's out of the question.
I didn't realize it was that many generations back. That's incredible.
Yep. Yeah, he's the fourth. And Kaysen, I honestly can't remember how we came up with that one. Tammy, she named all the kids.
Well, I love it. And I love that it's different than what you normally hear. They always, I've remembered all your kids' names, and I just think that they're really beautiful. But I had no idea that Elica was like from a Hawaiian type.
I hope I get these stories right. My wife's probably going to watch it.
She can listen later and write in, and we'll edit you so make you look good. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. But I wanted to ask you, I know that you've prioritized music in your home because I've gotten to work with you guys through that. What's the trick? I know you mentioned Elica is kind of the only one that it's stuck with, but why is music important for you when it comes to your kids?
It created a bonding moment. It created fun moments in our home. I would, I still do. After Sunday dinner, I'll go and jam on the piano, and the kids will come in. We'll sing songs. We'll do whatever. But yeah, all of our kids played an instrument. You have to learn piano, and you have to stick it out for a few years. Honestly, my wife cracks the whip in our family.
Go,
She
Tammy.
is the one that does it. I had a little PTSD from my father, always wanting me to practice. And so, I really never force that upon my kids.
Yeah.
And it's my wife that wants them to have that musical experience and moments.
Yeah, it's like the organic opportunities that come from you sitting at the piano though, and then the kids having that little intrinsic motivation, well, I want to participate.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so I think those are just as powerful,
Yeah.
as a parent, and for parents to take that away from this conversation is, I grew up in a home with a very musical mom. And then my dad wasn't musical, but he would often invite us, kind of like your
Yeah.
dad would, like
Yeah.
always showing me off, like listen to her play.
Sure.
And it builds
Sure.
some confidence, it builds identity. So
It does. Yep.
I wanted to ask you, like, when you tell your wife or when you tell your dad, like, hey, I'm pursuing music, was there ever pause there? Like,
Never from my father. He wanted me to do it. I don't think he warned me of how, or did he know really how difficult it was going to be a composer. I was on the path to be a band director like him. I was going to do that, but I think I got some pushback from my father-in-law when we first married. He doubted
see, a little skeptical.
the pathway.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to support my daughter?
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very risky career path to get into. But, every year that you keep going and you haven't given up, 100 people that you're going to be competing with did.
Yeah.
And when you get to year 4, year 5, and year 6, if you're still around, well, all the guys that gave up,
Weeds out.
yeah, weeds out your.
And then you have the
and then
opportunity.
you have the opportunity to strive, to shine in that moment. Yeah.
That's really cool. I want to talk about your career, and I kind of want to go back because I skipped over this, but you got into the Berklee School of Music, which that's a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a very, very competitive program. What was the process like for you getting into that schooling? And was that schooling like, do you think that schooling at that level is necessary for a composer
Yeah.
or someone in your situation?
Really good question. The pathway for me, so like I had mentioned earlier, I was at a very world-renowned music high school called Interlochen. And having the education there, as far as music theory, ear training, instrumental, jazz piano, honestly, it was college level. Berkeley is a conservatory of music, and they seek after those type of people. So we actually had all the universities come to us
Wow.
and try to get us to go to their schools.
Little recruiting. Yeah.
I actually won my senior year at Interlochen the Downbeat Jazz Award. And that is a really big, hefty scholarship for Berklee College of Music if you win that. So I was actually going to go to North Texas in Denton for jazz. And I wanted to maybe be a jazz pianist as a career. And but Berklee said, well, hey, you won the Downbeat Award. We're going to offer you an incredible scholarship. So I chose to go to that school. I only went there for 1 year because I joined the church and ended up moving out. I would say the answer to your question of, is it worth it? I always tell younger students from BYU or U of U that come to my studio that try to get their career path going. I say, if you're a lazy person, go to school, because they're going to force a curriculum upon you, and they're going to tell you got to do this, and it's going to force you into getting reps. You have to get 10,000 hours to be good at anything, right?
Yes.
If you are driven and ambitious, and if you have access to YouTube, well, music school may not be the best path for you because you're going to be in debt, $100,000 2 or 3 years later. So it's a tough thing to weigh there. All in all, I would say you're getting connections and relationships established at a university level that will be helpful to your career path. But far as actual knowledge of what you're doing in a career, I would say you're going to learn through hard knocks later
Yeah,
in life.
that's great advice.
Yeah.
How did your career get started? Like, what was your first gig, and what did that look like coming out of, your schooling and things?
Yeah. Really tough. We starved to death for 5 years. I think I could have made more money, and I'm not knocking Taco Bell, but I think I could have made more money working at Taco Bell than I would have as what I was making as a musician.
Was Tammy working too to help
Tammy,
support you guys?
she was teaching dance.
Okay.
Yeah. She was making the big bucks.
Yeah, she was being the
She
sugar mama.
was
Yeah.
completely supporting my horrible career path of music at that moment. So, yeah, it's an interesting story because I pretty much opened the yellow pages, and that shows you how old I am. We didn't have the internet. We couldn't ask Siri, where is this or that? And I picked businesses. And I drove to the address and knocked on the door and said, "Hi, my name's Lisle Moore. I can write music. I will do it for free. Do you need my services?" And I got laughed at over and over again. Like, no, we don't. Then all of a sudden, there's this business that said, "Well, yeah, we actually do infomercials. And
Cool.
yeah, maybe you could do something." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Okay,
Here we go.
I'll do it for free. Just
Yeah.
give me opportunity. I kept doing that for a few years, and I had a calling card in my hand. I had a CD with my content that showcased my talents, and I mailed them to different agencies. And there's a particular business here called Nonstop Music years ago that they did some pretty big stuff. And I went up, met with them. They took my CD, talked to me, and they didn't listen to it for a year. I go back to the building, and I see that my CD was still laying in a pile, and they never listened to it. So I grabbed it, walked upstairs to the building, and I kicked the door in. And I said, "Hey,
Excuse
listen
me.
to my music." And the guy did. Real good buddy of mine, Judd Mayer.
Really?
And he listened to my content.
Wow.
2 hours later, I met the owner of Nonstop Music, and I was driving home with a smile on my face with an opportunity. About a year later, they allowed me to enter a contest to win the NBA on ESPN basketball theme. That was going to be a 20-year contract, and I almost didn't even do it because I didn't think it was possible. Wayne Gretzky said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." So I wrote the basketball theme, turned it in, and 2 days later, I got a phone call. "Are you sitting down?" They said,
Oh my
"You just
gosh.
won the NBA theme."
That's
So
huge.
landing that gig catapulted my career and my opportunities.
That is
Yeah.
incredible. How
Yeah.
old were you when that happened?
Oh, I was probably 27, 28.
That is
Yeah.
that is huge. That is just so life-changing. We
Yeah.
still hear you still hear that theme
Yep.
today. It's so notable. It's so recognizable, and you just wrote that. What was it like writing that? Like you had a deadline, I assume. You just had to put something out.
Oh yeah, we had a day or two. You had to turn something in. How I actually won the gig is I was different. The criteria behind it was to create a hip hop track with
Okay.
a memorable theme. Well, there's going to be 500 submissions, so that's the last thing I'm going to do. I turned in this old school NBA John Tesh NBC Roundball Rock version of my theme, and it won.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so it was a big risk, but when you take risk in life, you get rewarded, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So there goes the basketball theme, and then you had other opportunities come after that. Tell me about the opportunities that poured in after that.
Yeah, I started doing movie trailers. I started doing national news packages where you write 30 minutes of music, and then a TV station in Baltimore will use it and rent it from you, and your music is playing in people's cars and TVs, and you don't live out there, but you know it's playing, and you get paid for it. So I started building up that music catalog. Then I started getting more custom gigs, from other clients, seeing what I was involved in, and so yeah, one gig turned into another. Referrals
cool.
started coming in, and then I started noticing that being responsible, getting your work done on time, showing up on time, And doing what you say you're going to do to clients means everything. And you have to be personable too. You know, I'm pretty easy to talk to with clients, and a lot of people that I was competing against, you know, they were pretty egotistical and not very friendly. And I noticed I was starting to get more opportunities because I was kind of a complete package.
You were the jack of all trades. Yeah.
Yeah. Master of none.
Yeah.
But,
No, no, but
Yeah.
if you have the full package in that you have the personality and like the responsibility, then you're always going to win out, which is amazing.
It really helps.
Tell me about the David Copperfield in Las Vegas experience.
Oh,
I read this in your
yeah.
bio and I want to hear more.
Yeah. Crazy story. So, like I was saying earlier, I have a music catalog and music library of different pieces and moods and genres that I write for. A sales team in a music publishing house, their job is to contact all opportunities where you can rent your music or license it to them. And my wife and I, we were just in Vegas for 2 or 3 days as, you know, just a little getaway. And let's go see the David Copperfield, magician show or whatever. And that sounds fun. So we were in there, and he actually brought Tammy and I up on the stage that night and played a trick on us. Like, he stole my wife's wedding ring and literally made us the butt of the joke.
Part of the show.
Part of the show, yeah. So we were just randomly picked out of the audience. And I remember hearing a score that John Powell wrote, one of my favorite composers, How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
They had licensed some of that score for the show. And I was thinking, oh, man, how cool would that be if my music could be here? And I was pretty established in my career at that point. But still, nonetheless, that would have been really cool. At the end of the show, it's the finale, and it's playing probably twice today, literally. It was a 10-year contract. And this dinosaur comes out over the audience, and all this smoke comes, and this low, ominous note starts. And I realize this is my music.
What?
And I was just in shock. I was like, wait. And so I'm like tapping my wife, and do you hear this? This is mine. This is my music.
Wow.
And she's like, yeah. You know, I don't even think she could hear me.
Yeah, she's shushing you.
And so I just sit there for 4 minutes and hear my art, hear what I worked really hard on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 2 or 3 days in my life, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And there it was. And so really fun moments like that in my career. I'll be, in the kitchen having lunch, and a TV commercial will come on, and oh, well, there's my music. And so I hear it. I'll be in the movie theater, and a trailer will come on, and they license it to that. And so it's really fun.
How cool.
Gratifying in those moments to hear what you work so hard on.
For you and for your kids to see, what their hard work can become, you know.
Yeah.
I love that example. What would you say was your I've made it moment?
Yeah. So I was asked to do the 2010 World Cup soccer theme for Africa. And it was a crazy gig because, one, you have to create music that sounds like soccer. Well, how do you do that?
Yeah.
It has to be African, and you have to have elements in there that are true to the region of where the games are. So it was a really tough assignment for me. And I remember I think we had YouTube back then in 2010.
I'm trying to think. I was in high school. Yeah.
So I start researching, and I keep hearing these African vocal chants going on. And so when I started writing the theme for that, I had to sing into a microphone and double my voice, 10 or 12 times and mimic a choir. And I was doing African gibberish.
That's crazy.
But ESPN needed to hear, some type of a rendition of what I'm doing, so they would, say yes or no to the gig. I had to win that gig. And the moment where I felt like I had made it is ESPN called me and they go, we love this project so much and the music you have done that we want to fly you out to New York City, and we want you to record this with the cast of The Lion King.
Whoa.
And I was terrified. It's like, I'm going to get to go out to New York and to conduct these professionals.
So cool.
And so I did. I got to fly out there, and I spent about 6 or 7 hours with them and conducting them and recording. And it was the apex moment, in my career. And I felt like I had made it at that point.
That's incredible.
That gig,
I'm excited to insert that music in this because I want people to hear, it's truly a work of just art. Is there ever a point that you, in your creative process, like hit a writer's block? Like, how do you push through and make it happen, especially like when you're on a deadline?
Oh, once a week.
Yeah.
Once a week. Yeah. Each year goes by in your career. You put more arrows in your quiver. You have tools that you use and habits and devices that you've created. And it is hard to stay fresh. So, of course, every week, writer's block, frustration. You'll talk yourself into, you can't do this. Why did they hire you?
Imposter
I'm
syndrome,
quitting.
maybe.
Yeah. And then, then you go and you listen to something you did a year ago, like, okay, I actually have some talent here. I can do this.
I can.
The first thing you have to do is leave your environment, your creative environment. I would go to the gym. I would go shoot baskets in my backyard. We have a little fun sports court back there, and just get away from the environment that you're frustrated in. Or I would leave my writers. You could show a picture of my studio, and I would leave that desk, and I would go back to a real living and breathing instrument, an actual piano, and just kind of noodle on that. And normally, when 2 a.m. comes around and it has to be done tomorrow morning by 9, you come up with something.
Like in the critical hours.
Yeah.
I don't know. I am a procrastinator, so I actually think that I work well under pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you have that deadline and you're having a block, like I just can't imagine how difficult that would be. I was going to ask you, is there ever a time where you feel like you have a ritual or some type of like, do you have like a ritual that you have to be in a certain state of mind? Like, is there any type of thing that you do before you compose that puts you in the right headspace?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would say most of my career, I would just have a scripture study, about 5 or 10 minutes, and read and pray to God, inspire me today, help me. Because it's a creative job. And sometimes I would give anything to go to a factory and to move a can from here to there over and over again.
Yeah.
Because I know how to do it. There's no stress behind it. And it's just repetitive.
Yes.
But the job of creating art, and at the moment where they punch in the arm, say, good job, buddy, we're going to pay you. You did incredible. Well, there's gratification there, but you go to the depression the next morning of, I have to start over.
Got to do it again.
And push the stone up the hill and start from scratch, and they're going to fire me. So
That's
this
hard.
career path, you go to here, then you go to here, then you go up there. It's just
Highs and
repetitive.
lows.
Highs and lows. So that was hard. You have to be very self-driven to do, to be a composer. It's a lonely job. You sit in a room by yourself.
Yeah. You touched on your garage mahal. Is that what you call it?
Garage mahal. Yeah.
When did you build that? It's a beautiful studio. I've gotten to
Thank
go
you.
and take a tour of it. And I am in awe of it. Was that a game changer in how you could get your work done?
It was, our whole marriage. I was always in a bedroom in our house, and I would have clients come over, and, my wife, poor Tammy, she'd be in the kitchen, and I would go, get down, hide.
Yeah.
They're coming through. So yeah, she actually loved to hear me create in the home. That was fun for her. But having that studio built outside where I could have my creative space and have privacy, that was a game changer for me, for sure. Just to kind of have my own line of work. And then my clients could come, and they took me more seriously, honestly.
Yeah, I think
in a space,
professionally, like it is a gorgeous studio. So I can
thank
only
you.
imagine. This leads me to wanting to ask you about one of your most recent projects. And I wanted to give our listeners a little bit of context on it. But just before I do, little side note here, we are actually going to play some of the music from Lisle's project as he speaks about it. So listen for that. So here in Lehi, Utah, we have a beautiful property. It's called the Ashton Gardens. And recently they introduced a new permanent exhibit on the property called the Tree of Life. This was a dream made reality by world-renowned sculptor Angela Johnson. And it's said to be a $25 million project spanning 2 acres and spanning over 5 years. She created 130 bronze statues to tell the story of the Tree of Life from the Book of Mormon. And my husband, Brady, he just had the opportunity to take some of our youth through it and just said it's absolutely incredible. But you were commissioned to do all the music for this project. And I don't think it would be what it is without the music backing it up. And so I wanted to talk to you about how that job came to be and what that was like writing music for that.
Yeah. I had a client who I had done a lot of music for over the years, and he happened to live in Alpine, really close to Angela. In fact, I think they were in the same ward together. And Angela Johnson, she has done a 180 in her career as well. You know, she was a vocalist, opera singer, really, you know, renowned musician, actually.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I can't remember the age, but she just turned her career path to sculpting, and
Wow.
she was, you know, instant expert at it overnight. So she started asking around the industry, I need a composer that can do music. She had some criteria around it. One, he needs to know how to write beautiful melodies and thematic things for this. But two, I would like to have someone that has a testimony of the gospel.
Yeah.
And they can understand
The story that
the
she's
story
trying to
behind
tell.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes, oh, Lisle Moore. And I remember she got my phone number from him, and she texted me and she says, can I come over to your studio today? Sure. I was a big fan of her. You know,
Yeah.
I had seen the Light of the World statues for years. And so she comes into the studio, and Angela, her knowledge of the gospel is unbelievable. She can just rattle off 30 minutes, and I won't even say a word. I'll just sit there and listen. And, so she taught me a lot. But she put a very large task on me. She goes, I want God to speak to you through this project, and I'm not going to get in the road of it, and it's going to be up to you to create this soundtrack that's going to live forever at Ashton Gardens. I'm like, no pressure here.
Yeah.
So I was excited to do it, and you know, it was rare for me to be able to use a full 85-piece orchestra all in the same room for an hour's worth of content. Most of the gigs that we, you know, that I had done, we will record strings separately, brass separately, and vocals and everything. But this was, let's go to Prague. Let's get it.
Is that where you went?
Yeah. So we went to Prague
How
and
cool.
used the Czech Republic Symphony over there. And just an incredible project to work on. And I got to know Angela really well. You know, she came over, you know, 30
That's
different
amazing.
times listening to what I was doing. And
Would she give you feedback in those, like in those interactions?
She honestly, it was the one gig I've ever done where she barely had anything to say.
She
just
trusted you.
trusted me. Yeah.
That's gotta feel
Yeah.
pretty cool.
But also too, I really feel like I was inspired for that. You know, I really feel that I was helped by, you know, God in that
That's
moment.
really cool.
And that music will be there for a long time. And each time I go to tour and take my family there, it really is something I'm proud of.
I love listening to it. You sent it to me, and it's amazing to listen to it because it kind of takes you into another space. And the only context I had, because obviously I didn't have the statues in front of me,
Sure,
just
yeah.
had the titles and the different names of the songs where I can, you know, you can kind of infer what's going on. But Angela Johnson described the project as a depiction of the human family's journey to feel the love of God. And she talked about the challenges that we face along that journey and how the different paths we take either bring you closer to the tree or farther from the tree.
Right.
And I love how in your compositions you can hear the tension, or you can hear almost the depiction of light. And I just wanted to ask you, as a composer, what are you doing from a musical standpoint to convey those different messages? You know, we can get a little nerdy in theory here. What type of tools or elements are you doing to evoke those different emotions?
Wow. That's an interesting question. The approach that I took to write this music for the Tree of Life, she was very organized of how the tour was going to happen. So you haven't done it yet, but you got to go. You got to go see it.
I need to.
It's really specific of where you go. There's Defenders of the Faith. Then you see Joseph Smith. Like, it just jumps all over the place. But it is a journey, and then it goes to the Great and Spacious Building. But the apex moment is the tree up at the top. And so all the categories that she, moments where the patron will stop and listen and hear spoken word, I took a snapshot online and put it in front of me and stared at it for hours as I was writing the music, because it was really the only, I'm used to writing to picture.
Yeah.
And it's hard to write music to the wall.
Yeah.
So
Need some
it's hard to be inspired.
inspiration, I imagine.
Yeah. So I took those images of, the Savior being baptized, and she had all these statues in her backyard at
Wow.
this point. So she let me come over to her backyard, and I took videos of things, and I would just look at images and stare at them. And I use solo vocals in here. The human voice to me is there's not an instrument that is there that can change on a dime with emotion and inflection. And so I really used the power of a solo voice in this score to create that drama or to create that emotional content that I was going for. But also too, we can say music theory is not important to know, but when you have a command of the piano and understand different voicings and a way to go in and out, you really can tug on people's emotions with chord choices.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really made sure, just spent hours upon hours of trying different methods of where I'm going. Normally, I just have to get it done tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I go, this is the first thing that okay, it sounds great, record it, we're done.
Yeah.
Client likes it. This is the project where I know I worked on that yesterday. I'm going to make sure that that's right. And
how cool.
Had a lot of incredible emotional experiences where if I feel that spirit and I'm moved to tears almost when I hear the music that I'm doing, I know that it's right.
You've mentioned that you've had some spiritual experiences, in composing the music and things. And I know, even just with this little project of this podcast, that keeping the spirit close to me when I'm trying to get inspiration and I'm trying to create something, like I've had to get off social media. I've really needed to I've been to the temple. I've tried to hone in on the spirit and not do anything in my life to offend it. When you're prepping and doing a project that's so spiritual in nature, as creating this composition, what are you doing to keep the spirit close in your life? And then how were you able to feel the spirit on this project?
Great question. A decision I made about 7 years ago is to work in the temple. And I knew that it was going to not so much force me, but encourage me to just be a little bit better. And, working in the temple, you have an amazing experiences in there, doing the endowment sessions and all the things that are entailed in there. That was kind of a time in my life where I was starting to waste time during the day, looking at social media, watching YouTube videos, and I call powdering my face. So when the writer's block comes, you'll go to your past content that you've done and try to, talk yourself into, you can do this type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that was the moment of my life where I was starting to get a little tired in my career. I'd had, a good amount of success and it was getting a little mundane. And so I needed a boost to kind of push me into a new realm.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, working at the temple is what did it for me. And I'm still in there 7 years later.
That's really cool. I actually saw you at the temple. I'm not sure if you saw me, but
Oh,
I saw
really?
you walking out as I walked in a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was cool to see you there because with what you're doing in your life, like you can tell you're being intentional about the way you spend your time. And I really admire that from you as a friend. I wanted to ask you, so these experiences, these emotional experiences you reference, like, are you able to share any of those experiences that you had while working on this composition, maybe where you knew or you felt like God saw you or validated, what you were putting out into the world?
I would say I felt validated based off of Angela's reaction to the music.
Mm.
She is a really spiritual person. I mean, she's close to the Savior, but when I would see Angela come in and be moved, hearing what I had created, and for her to say, "This is perfect."
Wow, that's gotta feel good.
That really made me feel good. But equally, I had the same experiences too. I would be creating melodies and chord progressions and going in and out of ideas, and it would just be business as usual in the studio. But then there would be that moment where I hit that device or hit that chord change or melodic phrase or motif that I'm working on, and I just know that's it.
Mm.
And yeah, I can get emotional in that moment.
That's
and,
cool.
And it's just kind of the spirit whispering, "You got it."
That's really
Yeah.
cool. That's something that I have felt grateful for in my line of work, and it's cool to hear that in your line of work that you have those little confirmations, that
Yeah.
you're on the right track. This is the right path. Keep going. How, as a composer, for me, I'm an overthinker. I'm let's do it 50 different good ways, but I can never just put out
Yeah.
my work. How do you get over that and just know good enough is good enough? That is a hard thing for me.
Oh, that's easy. When's the deadline?
Yeah, you're driven by the deadline.
Yeah, you're driven by the deadline. This particular project, no. Well, I had a lot of time. There was no really gun to my head or
Yeah.
pressure like the normal. In fact, it was really difficult for me because I was used to working under that 48-hour turnaround.
Wow.
And back in the day, I would get 8 hours to write the music. Then I would have to call a copyist. We'd have to have the musicians show up the next day. We'd have to record it, mix it, and then put it, on the Delta Dash flight to go to LA.
Wow.
So yeah, the crazy pressure of doing this type of gigs. And so, yeah, it was good and bad actually with this project of having a little bit more time, because then you can second guess.
Yeah. Gives you that time to doubt.
I was lucky that Angela was so, just easy to work with, and she just knew what she wanted, and we just hit it off. And luckily what I was creating, she was loving it. So
it's so cool. It just, knowing that she lives in the area, I just keep thinking back to the beginning of your story. Like, what if the bail bondsman, what if that guy would have called a different bail bondsman? Like, you wouldn't have been on her radar.
I would be a band director in Missouri right now.
That is just...
And have a great life.
Yeah.
But
a different life.
A different life, yeah.
And it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing just to think about your story and the spirit that you followed to get to this point. I wanted to ask you, in what way has music taught you how to recognize the spirit?
Well, the spirit, like I said, is very physical for me. It's a feeling, and so is music. I can recall so many instances as a small child. I'm talking 6 years old, listening on my little Sony Walkman, John Williams' theme to Raiders of the Lost Ark, or it just spoke to me and it was emotional for me. And so I don't know what it is, but music is frequencies. And when we play certain patterns in certain orders, there is a language there that we don't all speak it in the same way, but it's a universal feeling. And so I think I was blessed as a human being to be able to feel that and to speak the language. And okay, I'm going to grow up someday and know how to articulate it to others.
Yeah.
And so that's what was, I'm lucky to have that talent and ability and to have it as a career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I think I've heard a criticism before that like that ability to evoke emotion from someone, it's like basically your job as a composer is to evoke emotion or tell a story. Mm-hmm. I've heard a criticism that is like it almost simulates a spiritual experience, and that we're not actually feeling something from God, but rather just something made of man.
Right.
And I'm curious to know, do you believe that God has a hand in, like, let me reword this question. In what way do you feel like we can identify if something is the spirit that is speaking to us?
I think the spirit can be anything that happens in our daily life that maybe might be out of the ordinary. I think that is, God is all-knowing, omnipotent, and all-powerful. He can orchestrate anything to happen to you to get you to correct your path or to get you to go left or right or whatever. So I don't think the spirit just has to be a feeling that we feel. It can be, there's a lot we don't know about the gospel. Mm-hmm. And we have probably a very minimal knowledge of this whole plan. But yeah, the Spirit can be anything in our day-to-day life that we see. And if it moves us, if it tells us to go a different direction in whatever, if it's physical, if it's visual, if it's something we hear, that's the Spirit to me.
Yeah, I love the scripture, and I can't quote it, but it's anything good is of God. So if it promotes you to do something good,
Right.
then it is from him. I like to think too, like I have a testimony that the God that created us gave us this amazing gift of music to prick our senses, to call us to, be alert and to listen.
Yeah.
And so what you can do as a composer, I feel like, is for the benefit of us all, to partake and to get to go walk through that amazing exhibit and get to feel something that changes us and that moves us. And so super grateful for that. It's one of my favorite questions to ask on this show, but do you have a favorite hymn and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say one of my favorite projects I ever worked on was an album. His name was Jordan Bluth, and he was a vocalist. And I got to do some Billy Joel arrangements. I got to do some Beatles tunes, all orchestral for him.
Wow.
He was an opera, he was a tenor, operatic singer, but he said he wanted a hymn in there. And I think he let me choose which one to do. And Come Thou Fount spoke to me. I've heard so many arrangements of it, and I wanted to do something that broke up the meter. And so I really challenged myself to maybe cut it in half and elongate it. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed working on that project, and I think we're going to perform that today here on the show.
We're so lucky to be able to hear that right now. We're going to bring Elica on, and we will get that set up.
Okay, great.
Come, thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount I'm fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Take and seal it for thy courts above. Seal it for thy courts
Thank you so much for being here. We've been so blessed to hear your story today. I wanted to just ask you one final question, and that is, what do you hope that your legacy will be?
Wow, that's a tough one. I would hope that I would be remembered by that I put family first. You know, I never put my career above anything. Sometimes maybe I was hard to talk to as a dad because there was pressure there. But I definitely want to be known that my family is more important than anything, honestly. But also, too, I would love to be known that the gospel is everything to me, and that if you keep those commandments, stay on the path, and do the simple things, everything else that is normally hard in your life will lessen and it'll lighten up. So that's what I have done my whole life is I made a commitment in 1994 on May 11th, and I got baptized. And I made a commitment that day that I'm going to stick to it. And I've never had anything in my life show me otherwise that giving it up or changing in any way would be better or worse. And I only have good, positive things to show for living the gospel. So I would want to be known that I stuck to it.
I love that. Your life, your legacy, your family, they're all a testament to those choices that you've made. And I am super grateful that you would be here with us today. I want to ask you, what's next? What's next with your music? And I also know that you're now a CEO of a tech company. Tell us about that.
Yeah, started a tech company about 3.5 years ago. And it was one of those COVID's here. What do I want to do with my life? Should I get involved in, putting another chip on the roulette table?
Yeah.
And I've always been an entrepreneur. You have to be to start music. But an old co-founder came back in my life, and I hadn't seen him for years. And he was younger than me and had energy and drive to do something. And we started, made a lot of mistakes, kept going, raised capital. And here we are 3.5 years later with some pretty good success. And we have some momentum, and we're going to be scaling this year. So
It's exciting.
yeah, it's a tech education product that we're developing called Vega. And we're going to be in most of the high schools here in the state of Utah, up here coming soon. But it's really changed my life. It's engulfed me of what I'm doing on a daily basis now.
Yeah.
But I'll never stop music.
Yeah.
It's my
You still have some
it's my
projects
first love.
on the side.
Still got some stuff. Yeah.
That's exciting. Well, we've been able to sit down with you and look at that software, in different applications for our own business, and it's incredible. So I am excited for you, and it's been fun to connect with you that way. I know that you don't do a lot of social media anymore, but I wanted to help our listeners find you. Will you let us know where we can find you online?
Online, I would say YouTube. If you type in Lisle Moore Composer, you'll see tons of content that comes up, and all that stuff is uploaded by production houses, companies. So I don't control any of that content. But if you type in my name on YouTube, you'll see a lot of stuff coming.
And tell us really quick, who hosts your catalog? It's
Warner Chappell
Chappell.
Music. Yeah. They actually acquired Nonstop Music.
Okay.
The first company that I did a lot of stuff for. So
I did see your stuff on their website.
Yeah. Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So they get a lot of stuff for me for sure.
That's awesome. Well, Lisle and Elica, thank you both so much for being here today. We have been so blessed to have you guys and for you to share your testimony and your life experience both through our conversation and through your music. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.